Okay, so I'm making this video for two reasons. One is for Mike. The other one is for people who subscribe to Mike's channel and who might be curious about 12-step programs and how it works, how it actually really helped me a lot. Hopefully to encourage or inspire people who are visiting his channel to really listen to what he has to say and try to follow it as best as you can. Now, I didn't do therapy. I just did CODA. I've been in it just for a little over 2 months, and it has changed my life in a really, really amazing, surprising, and incredible way. So first, I just want to start off by saying thank you to Mike. Your channel, first and foremost, gave me maybe four really amazing things. So first was, you're the first channel that really let me feel like I could still love my ex. My ex could still love me, even if it's damaging and toxic, and even if it's not a good relationship to be in. So many other channels want to demonize someone else who's obviously struggling. Any of us that have been in relationships with people diagnosed or undiagnosed with BPD, we know they're struggling all the time. I mean, we see it. We try to caretake and take responsibility as we can. We don't see the toxicity in it. You really helped me to see this, but also let me love them. That was so important for me. And it was so important for me too, to be able to feel like some of those moments that were really beautiful for me were beautiful for her too. We can find ourselves in these situations where we want to just demonize them or pretend like everything was bullshit. And that was really, really important for me. And that really helped me to get into your channel. The second thing was, you're this big guy who's very alpha, tough, speaks his mind, seems fearless, surfs, and you called yourself codependent. We all hate this term, codependency. It just sounds like weakness. Where it comes from, for those who don't know, it comes from Alcoholics Anonymous, that alcoholics were alcohol dependent, right? They were dependent on alcohol as like a daily medicine, right? They needed it, they were dependent on it. And the people who were, the wives or husbands or partners of these people, we call them codependents, because they were like codependent on alcohol, even though these other people often weren't drinking and didn't have a drinking problem. This is where it comes from. But of course, we hate the term, and I hated the term. I never wanted to be one. What do you mean? I'm just a nice guy. I just have a lot of empathy. So this is what I wanted. I didn't want that label. But you hammering it home, you giving yourself the label, really helped to give me permission to do that too. So thank you for that. So first of all, thank you for allowing me a way in to humanize my ex. And it's more than just one ex, I'm pretty chronic. That was just so nice that I didn't have to demonize them. Secondly, that I could recognize what the issue was with me. Third, to take responsibility for it. And by doing the four things. And so for me, I joined CODA. And specifically, there was a moment, I think it was like the second last live stream you did last year. I jumped on, I'd attended a meeting, I had 5 sponsors contact me. And I was like, but I didn't respond to any of them, of course, because I was in resistance. I was in such a place of pain. I was obsessed over the demise of the relationship. I couldn't stop thinking about her. But even before the relationship ended, I was still obsessed. I've been obsessed for months. The relationship was about 10 months. And I was in a place of so much pain. I remembered that I had interests, but I didn't know how to feel them anymore. So I felt totally disconnected from myself. Definitely, I was experiencing PTSD. I was in so much hopelessness, obsessive, ruminating thoughts. And I never totally trusted that, like, okay, this thing is gonna work. I didn't, right? I was just so damn desperate. I was on a live stream. I said, hey, I got 5 people contacting me. Who should I write? I was so nervous. And you were like, hey man, it's not a big deal. It's not a marriage. Just choose any of them and just go for it. Who cares? So I did it in that live stream, right? I took the counter action. I took the action I didn't really want to take. And it changed my effing life in the best way. So I just want to say thank you so much for this channel. I needed time before I was really ready to take that step. And a huge thing that helped, like I said, is that you humanize the situation. You try to look at the dynamic that's happening on both sides of this and to be really honest about it and hurt everybody's feelings in the meantime because we're also resistant to change. But ultimately, this is about healing. And one of the most surprising things I found with this program is that it's not just um, my relationship. Like I thought, oh, it's just this one relationship I'm having problems with. Please help me to feel better about this. No, it's my whole life. Now the relationship, it's just been like a little over 2 months. Relationship is so small in comparison to everything else that's happening in my life. But the program itself is helping to, I don't know, just connect me with life in a way that I just didn't before. And it is such a relief. And I just really, it's just unbelievable. Like it's totally unbelievable. So thank you. I wish you happiness and good relationships, wealth, abundance, all of these things. You're such a unique person, such a special person to have given this message freely to so many people. You know, I also signed up as a super empath. I was upset when there was no more live streams because I wanted to have the special S, which was just ego, you know. But those videos were really helpful too. So thank you for all of that. And you're really, you know, you took a painful situation and you took your healing and you've multiplied your healing. I'm sure there's more than just me, but I saw there, you know, at the end, you're feeling like I'm just saying the same thing to everybody. No one's changing. And of course, we're sick, right? We're in our sickness, we're in our illness, and we have so much resistance to that. For so many of us, we have to hit rock bottom. But the great thing is that in all of your videos, you're so consistent in claiming what your position is and how you think we need to go about healing. You're so clear in it and you repeat it again and again. So regardless of what you do with the page, you know, regardless of what you do with those videos, whether you keep posting or not, that message is there again and again and again and again for finally when we come to that point where we're ready to heal, we're going to remember, okay, he said this. Okay, maybe, okay, screw it, I'll just try it out. For me, I joined up in a meeting. I was just in so much pain one night, and I went to go onto one of your videos because this was how I was healing. And I thought, man, you're so stupid, man. Just do what he says. Just go see if there's a meeting. So I went online, I found a meeting, and that's when I picked up 5 potential sponsors. I was just like, wow, amazing. This is so great. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure there's more than just me out there that have had growth experiences through this and in terms of like really, you know, properly. So thank you, because again, it's not, the relationship is now the smallest thing. It was 10 months. I was devastated. It's like the smallest thing in my life now. And the biggest thing is what I'm doing with myself, what I'm choosing to do. Like, wow, what a gift. What an amazing gift that I have this. And it's so, so insane. And so thank you. Really, really thank you. Okay. To everybody else who's wondering, why does it work? What is it about? First of all, you can't really know until you do it, right? It's like if I work out a lot and I'm like, oh, like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel great. I could just, if I see a fence, I could just jump over it. I feel like, okay, and you go, oh yeah, I can imagine that, but you don't really know. The same thing, you know, people who meditate, they're like, oh, I have this clarity of mind. I have this, I have that. You go, oh yeah, clear mind. Oh, yeah, okay, cool, cool. But you don't really know until you're there. So know that part of it for all of us will be a little bit different. And you won't know it until you're in it, until it's happening. That's when it's going to make sense to you. So first of all, there's something that's kind of mysterious. And this is why in Mike's videos, he's like, look, my videos aren't healing. They're not what's going to get you there. It's this daily work you have to do. That's what's going to get you there. I didn't totally understand it because like you, I would watch a video, I would feel calmer, more accepting, it was really nice, but I kept having to go back to the videos in order to get that feeling again. And what we don't realize is actually we're still in our codependence when we're doing this. We're still in this addictive, obsessive mind when we're doing it. We just feel like what we're focusing on is more positive, and it's true. Focusing on a video of Mike is a lot more positive than me ruminating about the thing she did in July, whatever it is. So I can't totally tell you, but I swear if you go to a good coder group, it will change how you see everything. When he comments on people, and I thought I kind of got it before, I really get it now. When you work the step program, you get through 9 steps and there's 3 left. And the last 3, you're just doing them on repeat like every day. And it becomes like, essentially it's slow motion meditation. Anyone who's done mindfulness meditation, I've done quite a bit. It is a slow motion mindfulness meditation. And it is, when Mike says it rewires your brain, it's exactly what it's doing. It is rewiring your brain. It's rewiring your thought patterns. And it only works when you work it. It only works because you do it as a daily thing. Okay, those small moments we get when we're watching one of his videos, you go, oh, I see how this person in the comments was being really selfish. Okay, yeah, I see this in myself. We have these little aha moments, right? But we need to personalize those more and put those into practice all the time more in order to really get our heads out of this, right? Okay, we have a 4th step and we have a 10th step, and they're essentially the same thing. So what happens is I will have a memory. She did this thing. And I'm angry. It really hurt me. It betrayed me in some way, right? It could be a small thing too, but okay, so this is what happened. So I remember it. And then what I'm doing is I'm finding in this one action. So what I'm doing is I'm not going to write it out as like a novel. No, this is the rumination we need to get rid of. So I summarize it in like a sentence. Then I spend 2, 3, or 4 sentences looking at my own dishonesty and selfishness around it. This is so, 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 so important. And this is where you really get a healing and liberation that just nothing else will give you. I guarantee you, nothing else will give this to you. It doesn't matter why I'm in a codependent relationship. It doesn't matter. These things that happened to me, and this doesn't change the thinking that is a problem, because essentially it's like it's a practice, right? I have a practice where when that thing comes up, I just obsess on it. And as we get into PTSD in these relationships, we obsess in it even more than normal. And this is our way of dealing with stuff, which is so self-destructive. So what happens is I have this feeling, I remember this betrayal, and it could be bad. Look, a lot of us have had really similar kind of betrayals happen. They're all unique because, well, we're all different people. We have a different connection. So how I'm going to get hurt is going to be a little bit different than how you get hurt. But there's going to be some kind of similarity where it was like they cut to kill you, when it's happening. So I have to look in that and first of all, see where I was being dishonest. This part's kind of easy. Mike helps us a lot with this. So I remember this betrayal. How was I being dishonest? In almost every single case, I was dishonest about the truth of who they are. In almost every single case. Yeah, they promised they wouldn't do it again, but they have a really hard time keeping promises, even to themselves, let alone me. So I knew this person was like this, and I stayed. I don't have to get into self-pity around it. If I get into self-pity, I got to do another one of these just around self-pity, but let's just keep it to the resentment, to the anger. Okay, I was dishonest. This person is totally like this. This is the 3rd time they betrayed me in a way that was really hurtful, or maybe exactly in the same way. Okay, I was dishonest. This is beautiful to see your own dishonesty again and again and again and again. In the beginning, I would do like 20 of these a day because they just kept coming up. So I'm on repeat. I'm making the story of what I remember as small as possible. And then I'm making the part where I'm being more selfish or dishonest, I'm making this a little bit bigger. So it's really helpful. So I'm focusing on me, right? What the dishonesty is doing is it's going to start to show you where you've been projecting. And it's going to remind you of that 100 times a day if it's 100 times a day, 5 times a day if it's 5 times a day. But it's going to remind you of that, show that to you. And eventually you're going to go, I was totally dishonest. It is so nice. Look, part of the thing that's keeping you attached to them is that you're still projecting onto them that they could change or that things were really amazing or whatever it is. And we're scared to go over and see where we're projecting because we feel like we're going to feel all of this self-pity then. And we're going to go, it was all fake. The whole relationship was bullshit. Oh my God. And now I'm going to feel really sad. Well, you can feel sad, but we're not going to get into self-pity about it. We're not going to turn that into another obsessive thought. If that obsessive thought comes up, then instead of looking at a resentment, I'm going to look at a self-pity. And I'm going to see, why is the self-pity dishonest in this case? So if I'm coming back to the self-pity around the relationship, I said, look, this is dishonest because at the time I wasn't ready to see the truth of this relationship. So I'm being dishonest about my own self-pity, right? It's dishonest to do that. So we can look at this in all kinds of different ways. But to come back to the resentment. So first, I'm seeing I'm dishonest in this way. Perfect, beautiful, wonderful. Over time, it chips away at this projection. So now when I look back on the relationship, I still think about her sometimes. And there's things I can still miss about her, but the missing is a nostalgia that is almost like right before you had a loss of innocence. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I remember those times. Wasn't that really nice when we were still healthily, if you want to say it that way? Probably it's not healthy. But you know, when we were still projecting on each other and before it was starting to become toxic, boy, wasn't that nice to be in that ignorant spot. I can still think of a nice conversation we had, a nice time we have, and it can be a nice time in that time. But I don't have to be attached to it in one of two ways. I don't have to be attached to it like, oh, what if it was always like that? Wouldn't that have been nice? I can think that, but I'm not going to attach to it in the same way because I'm going, well, that's dishonest. Like, no, it couldn't have been that way. It was impossible. And I can just let it go. But I can still look back on it and say, like, yeah, this legitimately was a really nice picnic we had. This legitimately was like such a fun night or a really fun weekend, or these still exist. There's nothing wrong with that. You would have this in a non-toxic relationship as well, where you're still going to look back in some nostalgia, but it just changes. When we remove our projection from it, it's just less, there's less power to that. And it's just so damn liberating. It's terrifying to think of. But as long as we don't turn that then into a self-pity where you're starting to resent yourself, as long as we then get out of that, it's actually really, really helpful. Secondly, I now have to look at this action and see, how was I selfish or self-serving in this? This part for me was harder. So what I have to do is like, okay, this person just did this terrible thing. I didn't do anything wrong, man. I was just standing around doing nothing, you know, whatever it was. And I have to sit there and go like, okay, wait, there's a way that I was selfish here. How can I find it? How can I find this peace? Now, there might be some exceptions to this, right? There might be some exceptions to this where maybe you just don't find it and all you find is the dishonesty. It's okay. There might be some really egregious things that happen where you can't find that selfishness, but generally you can find it somewhere. My selfishness typically was around wanting them to be what they're not. This is selfish, right? I want her to be healthy, but she's not. But I want her to be healthy, but she's not. I don't want to be humiliated because I want to control her so I can look good in front of other people. But I can't control her, right? And so we start to see all these places where we were being selfish. I mean, especially in the case of someone who we imagine might be suffering from a personality disorder or aspects of a personality disorder, or someone who's treating you badly. I mean, once you're doing a program like this, the labels don't really matter at all because your focus is in again and again in the correct places. So it doesn't matter I don't have to call it a toxic relationship. I don't have to call her toxic. Like, man, I'm toxic too, and I'm contributing to this as well, right? This is a dance, right? And if I'm in this dance, I'm being just as damn toxic, but it just looks different from the outside, right? It's easier for me to look like a victim from the outside, but it's toxic. So where I'm being selfish, oh, I know what I want to say, especially in the case of these kind of relationships, is like, okay, so here's somebody who has a really, really hard time keeping promises, who will lie, who forgets things, who, when they're angry, treats me terribly, when they're not angry, treats me amazingly, struggles in their own life all the time just to keep their stuff together, is continually having problems, has all these issues, these real serious mental health issues. And out of all the people in the world that I could potentially date, I'm choosing this person. And then I'm getting angry at them for being themselves. I have chosen to control. We don't feel like it's control, because as codependents, we're always like pretzeling ourselves in these weird shapes in order to accommodate other people. So we feel like they're all controlling us. But actually, the selfishness for us, when we think of controlling people, we think of just as selfishness, and we think, okay, well, I'm trying to get this person to act in a way that benefits me, and so this is control. So we just label it as control. But I'm looking to take somebody who has a severe mental illness that takes years to heal, who's always in pain and running away from their own pain like crazy. I am too, in a different way. And I want that person to completely change who they are, to like overnight wake up without doing any therapy and be great and love me exactly how I want to be loved. Or I want them to go to therapy and love me how I want to be loved. Like, am I God? Am I the greatest human being that's ever like who the hell am I? Why should someone change everything about themselves, their entire personality for me? Like, even that's crazy. Even this is like, why would I even want that? I mean, I thought I was this nice person, accepting of people. Well, I'm not really being accepting in this case. So this is what's really, really messed up in us that we hate to look at. But the really important part about seeing where I was selfish is actually, it is empowering. At the end of this relationship, PTSD, I'm totally messed up, I'm totally crazy, I'm totally obsessed. I don't remember, I can't feel connected to anything that I like in life. Everything's awful. I was so depressed. And I felt so powerless. I felt like, man, if she knocks on the door tomorrow, I'll say yes to anything. It was so hard. It was so difficult. And I felt like I had no power. And like, if this person even just shows up, all my power is gone and I'm just going to give in. But actually seeing where I was selfish gave me power. It gave me a lot of my power back. Because I went, okay, yeah, I see. I see. I was being dishonest and I stayed in it because I wanted the social status of her friends to like me. And so I forgave her for this thing. Or I didn't say anything in front of other people because I wanted to still look good. Whatever the hell it was, it doesn't matter. So we do this and then we refocus our thinking to some kind of service. So every time a negative thought comes up, I summarize it in a sentence. I look at where I can take responsibility. So I'm looking at my projections and I'm looking at so my projection of dishonesty, and I'm looking at my selfishness and empowerment in it. And I'm taking more space with this because in my codependency, this first thing, that action she did, it's a novel every time, isn't it? How many 20-page letters have you drafted? That's all this part, right? No. One sentence, easy. Then a couple sentences about me. Then I go into service, whatever that is. And so it's when the thought comes up, I'm summarizing it so I'm not getting obsessed with it. I'm figuring out how to remove a projection and how to get power, and then I'm doing a service. So now I'm shifting my whole mental state to somewhere that's way healthier. I'm doing it again and again and again. And if I have to do it 30 times a day, I do it 30 times a day. Some days are great. I don't have to do it any times or once or twice. And that's it. And over time, you're training your brain to rethink this. So for me, it was like within a couple of weeks, I'm okay with the obsessive thoughts. Within a month, I didn't want to go back to the relationship, which was so surprising. And then beyond a month, it's like, no, I'm just focusing on my own life now. Like I'm living a better version of my own life. And I don't need, I've seen videos of like, how to get revenge, live your best life. No, not even this matters. My life could be totally messed up tomorrow. I could lose all my money. I could be homeless. I could be whatever. It doesn't change any of the dynamic or any of the way I feel about my ex. I don't have to beat them or be better than them. This is crazy. I don't have to live my better life just to show them, yeah, see, now you regret. No, it's not this at all. I can look back. I see how I was 50% dancing in this. I see how I was projecting and being dishonest. And I can see the true person that they are without having a horse in the race, without having to make this person better, worse, right, wrong, good, evil. It doesn't matter. This is her stuff. If you're doing these steps properly, the emotional like amazingness, it's just like nothing else you could imagine. It is really, it's just so liberating. And for those of you who are on month 5 of watching videos, do yourself a favor and join a group like this, because the knowledge is just not enough. It's a practice. It's a mental practice, right? It's the mindfulness. It's, as he said, like, also find a meditation practice. These things ground you and center you, but it takes practice again and again and again. You have good days, you have bad days. I have days that are much tougher for me, but most of the time it's okay. And I now have these tools that when this obsessive thinking comes up, I process it. I throw it out. So it lasts a couple minutes and then it's gone. And then I'm back to my life and I'm back to focusing on that. And this has been like, wow, just amazing. So many aspects of my life have improved in just a couple of months. We are so lucky. It's exactly as he says. We are so lucky that we can have this like quick way to at least get into the beginnings of recovery. So thank you. Thank you to Mike. And thank you to, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, thank you to Mike. Thank you to Mike is the main thing. And there's a lot of wisdom in those words. And if you see that, hey, this guy's really wise in his words and with how he's framing things, he's really speaking to my situation and he's giving me, all of this. Have a little bit of belief, just a little bit of belief that, oh, maybe this thing does work. And only by doing it and trying it will that belief change into, that little kernel of belief. Only then will it turn into something greater. I can tell you that, like, the way I feel day to day now is just, I didn't know I would heal like this. I had no idea. When he's like, oh, I'm totally healed, I don't think about it. I don't like, okay, I totally believe him, especially him. I mean, he's been practicing this kind of thing for so many years, so much longer than me. I've just been practicing this a couple months. But I really believe him because, look, I'll always have some kind of attraction to her. I always have some kind of history with her. Yeah, it's okay. But the projections are challenged every time they come up. And my feeling of victimhood is also challenged. So I'm no longer a victim and I see her differently. Guys, this is freedom. This is freedom. This is what you're looking for. And if you do this and you do it really seriously and properly, I'm telling you, you'll at least have the tools that when you start to go back into this place of like, you'll be able to come right back and center yourself again. Thanks.